All right. Happy Saturday, everybody. This is George and Jake at EDC Leather talking to Rob Scroggins today on our new podcast, Holster Makers Podcast. Rob owns Gunblinger Designs in Union, Kentucky, and been doing holsters about 3 years, right, Rob?
Correct.
Okay. And I know because I asked, do you have your first holster that you ever made there?
I don't have my very first holster because I made it for a buddy and he loved it. And that's actually what kind of got me into wanting to make holsters. But I look at that holster now and it's like, God, don't show that to anyone because it's terrible.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
And I told him the other day, I saw him, I said, look, I owe you a holster because you should not be carrying that one that I made you.
We've done that. Ugly. You make something, right? And at the moment, you're really proud of it. You give it to them. And a year or two later, you see it, and you're like, oh, man, please don't even show it to anybody. And they're so proud of it. They're showing it to everybody, telling everybody, oh, man, my guy made this. And you're like, oh, please, let me make you another one.
So, yeah. And it wasn't even a simple holster. I mean, he wanted to inlay. He had got a zebra in Africa, and he wanted that piece of that zebra hide accented in that. So, you know, I jumped in with both feet using an exotic inlay and the whole bit, not knowing a thing of what I was doing. Because he says, hey, can you make a holster? I'm like, I don't know. Never made one. Let's try it.
And that was one of the trimmed out inlays. So you had badge over top of it?
Yes. Yep.
And was that a hair-on?
It was hair-on zebra, yes.
You kind of went in with both feet.
All I did, it was fun. And like I said, when I was finished with it, man, this is really cool. When I look at it now, because since I've done several, hair-on inlays on holsters and other items, and I'm like, you don't show that to anybody, please, because I'll make you a new one.
Yeah, well, I know you have to have an example of an early work that we can see because we all have to be able to giggle.
I do have an early one. I'm going to turn on the light here so we get kind of bright. But this is an early one I did. It was a Adams Leatherworks pattern that I bought online from him, and I did a little carving on the face. I love to carve. It's relaxing to me, and I think it looks really cool. But this, it's not heavy enough leather. It was probably maybe 7-ounce leather that I used. My stitch lines are not tight enough, and it's not molded hardly at all. You can see the back of it because we always want to see the back. It's got some slight molding in it, but not a lot.
Yeah, but what I am seeing there though is you pulled some retention off the trigger guard, so you did a fine job with that. But then I also see. Let's leave that light on. Let's go back to the front again. Let's go back to the front. Hold the holster by the bottom. Okay. So I see that you did some stitching around the belt slots, and I believe that's a great thing to do when you're trying to use the stitching as part of the design influence. But I don't find that to be really a structural advantage one way or the other if it's glued properly.
I agree fully now, and I don't do that anymore. I did have a little bit of molding here, but with that 2-layer with the reinforcement panel, which was full length here, going over top of that, I didn't get a lot of molding inside that. I was just pressing it in by hand. Didn't know any better.
What was your leather choice, sir?
It's a Tandy import of some sort. Yeah, whatever I could find, because I didn't know any better then.
So that may be why, because I really have no problem at all with 7-ounce, especially with the full overlay. But I think your leather may have caught you in the rear there.
Right.
As far as any retention, as far as your retention molding.
It was not as firm a hand as what I use now. I use, strictly Herman Oak now, which is night and day from an import, as you know.
Well, yeah, we want to get, we depend so much on our leather to provide us with structure. And when you don't have that, you've got to, you have to make some allowances when you don't have that. But in the beginning, you don't know. So when we're chatting, you've been doing this for about 3 years. And so we've had contact pretty much most of that time, haven't we?
We have. I bumped into this guy on YouTube that, George Canfield, EDC Leather. And I think I called you up or emailed you or something. I was out in Springfield for work, and I gave you a call, say, hey, can I come see your shop? And
I remember
by
that.
golly, you came and picked me up.
We had lunch.
We did. Yes, we did. And I was very impressed with that, and how helpful you were. And almost everything I get now, I buy through your company, because it's quality stuff. You know what the customer needs. You know how to help out on anything that I come up with. So it was very fortuitous to run into you.
So what? Show me some of your current holsters that you're doing, because I know that you've made some great leaps and bounds on your design work and everything.
Yes, for sure. So I've been using a lot of the click and ships from EDC, because I got so busy. I don't have time to sit down, custom design every holster and cut out the hide. I have rolls of hide over here, but it's so much easier for me to just order the click and ship. So here's one that I recently did. It's for Smith & Wesson M&P. It's the click and ship, and I've done that one. I've got several here. Here's one that I did a little stamping, a little basket weave on it.
Well, that stands out nice. I like that, the use of color and texture there.
It looks really nice. I used the Phoebing's saddle tan on this, and this is just natural with the antiquing in it to make it kind of pop. So I really liked that. And then, of course, I've the Avenger style holsters. Again, this is for an M&P 9 or 40. And the click and ship. Now, I do have some that I designed. Here's this is for a Ruger 5.7. I designed that one based on the information gained in class from the Holster Maker Boot Camp.
That was on a boot camp. And take a look at the guys. Show everybody what you had to do on the front of the holster to allow room for that huge sight. I'm going to transfer this over. So the front sight is a beast on the 5.7.
It is huge. I don't know if I can get a good light here or not, but it's hard to see. I'm in my basement, guys, so I don't have a lot of good lighting down here.
Yeah, so what you had to do is you had to come out and put it at an angle going out to the side to allow room for that front sight. And as soon as that front sight gets to the ejection port area on the holster, you're rotating at that point, and the sight clears. But sometimes on these new suppressor sights, you've got to give a little bit of room. But now, what you mentioned, you're in your basement, and a lot of guys start there, basement or a shed or a bedroom, or in like Callus's case, he took over the kitchen. And until the reason he has a shop right now instead of working at home is I think his wife threatened him, get out.
Well, that'll do it every time. Every time. I started off, I'm at my workbench, and this was my gun building bench. I used to do, I still do a lot of muzzle loading. So I build muzzle loaders, and my reloading equipment's on the other side of my workbench. So that has all been kind of pushed off to the side. And this half of my workbench is now my leather. I've got two other tables in here in the basement. One's a cutting table. One's got all my grinders and presses and stuff on it. And where my wife had wanted to finish the basement, have a finished basement, no, it's all leather shop now. I've pushed everything off to the corners, and it's all leather goods now.
Right, but you're still working full time.
Still work full time for a medical device company, and I travel, so I'm on the road. Typically, I'll get on an airplane on Monday morning and come home Friday afternoon or Friday night late. So if I'm lucky, I get a piece of a weekend to work on leather stuff.
And what's your goal for leatherworking? Is this your zen when, after a week of having to travel and deal with corporate mentalities, across the U.S.? So is leatherworking more of a zen, or what are your goals for holster making and leatherworking in general?
It's, I'm a few years out from retirement. And I'm talking 2 to 3 years out from retiring from the corporate side. I would love to have a little leather shop, little storefront, sell not only holsters and gun leather, but I've been doing a lot of tote bags and things like that lately that sell like crazy. And I got into doing that when I had a gentleman here in the basement looking at a holster. He wanted a custom holster, and he was complaining to me about the price, which my prices are, I think, lower than a lot of other people because I still feel like I'm learning. And his wife looked at a bag I was making for my wife, and she goes, "I love that. How much is it?" I said, $300. She goes, "I'll take one." Didn't bat an eye. And I thought, well, there's a line of work I need to get into because the women don't care. And I've sold a ton of tote bags to the ladies, probably as many tote bags as I have holsters recently. So my goal, have a little shop. This is relaxing to me. It's work, quote unquote, but it's relaxing to me. Come down here, take a hide and start cutting on it, design something out of it and make something useful and beautiful. I mean, I think leather is just a gorgeous medium to work in, no matter what you're doing, whether you're doing tote bags, keychains, bracelets, holsters, anything. It's just a great medium to work with, and it'll last.
Well, I think we really get some huge psychological and physical benefits as makers. There's some kind of hormone dump or serotonin dump into your brain when, as a maker, you complete a project, you start it from beginning to end out of your head and your hands, and it's complete, and you look at it, and that in itself, I think, is a great thing. But then there's never such an upvote for people's confidence in your abilities as when they pull out that credit card or they pull out their checkbook and they say, "I'm going to buy that."
Absolutely. They say, I have to have that. I was at my gun club the other day, or fish and game club, and I always take a couple of holsters with me, and I took 3 holsters in there with me, and I came home with none, which is a good thing.
I think you told me once about a guy taking a holster right off your belt.
Right off my belt. I had this holster that I had made. I carry an M&P, and I went into one of my local gun stores that I frequent, and a guy says, "Man, I like that holster. Where did you get it?" I said, "Well, I made it." He said, "That's really cool. I want one. How much?" And I told him a price, and he says, "I'll take it." I said, "Well, I'll give it to you in a couple of weeks." He goes, No, I want that one."
That one right there. Give me.
So I went out in my truck. I took my belt off, put the pistol in the glove box and locked it up, and took the holster in and took my money. And then that's why I ended up making this one. At the bottom of it, my initials are carved in there. So I figured, well, by golly, unless their initials are RS, they're not going to buy that one off my hip.
I don't think it'll slow them down because they're going to say that's the artist's signature at the bottom.
Right. Yeah.
So mine's signed. So when you die, I want one of those. So when you die, I'm going to go on eBay and I'm going to say it's a Rob Scroggins original.
That's right.
So, do you have one of your tote bags there?
I do. I only have this one left. The rest have all sold. This one I completed. I don't know if you can see it.
Wow. Look at that.
A couple of weeks ago. Hair on cowhide with some Indian print. And it's got a drop-in liner with, if you want to see the liner.
Yeah, what do you line it? What is that material? What do you line it with?
This is pigskin. And then,
so the liner's leather, too. This is not like a satin acetate thing.
Absolutely.
So let's go over this bag real quick. There's a lot of things happening there. So the Indian print I recognize. I bet that came from Springfield Leather.
It came from Springfield Leather. They had it highlighted on their site. I guess they got a special buy or whatever. So I special bought a big piece of it.
Fantastic. And I see you did fringe work. Did you buy that as fringe or?
No, that's a piece of oil tan that I had laying around here, and I put it on my little jerry stripper.
How thick is that oil tan?
It's probably about a 4 ounce, maybe.
About a 4. It's got a lot of movement.
Yeah, it looks really good.
So the hair-ons up above there, that's between?
Yep, that's a hair-on cow.
And what do you do with the handles? Is that rough out, or what am I looking at?
So this is the same oil tan. That is the fringe.
Okay.
With a 4 ounce veg tan on the inside of it for stability.
Okay.
And to help stretching. Some copper finished hardware and rivets to hold it on.
Okay. Does it have a zipper at the top?
Does not have a zipper. I consulted my local expert on tote bags, my daughter.
Would that be your daughter?
Yeah. And she says, no, don't put a zipper on that one. It would be too much.
Okay. So, now I see 2 D rings up on the top there. What's that for?
So this is for. I'm going to make another a longer strap if
Okay.
they want to put it over the shoulder.
Okay.
Or they could use these if they wanted to. They could put this, connect them together. I don't expect them to, but I'm going to make a secondary strap, probably a 1 inch, 1.5 inch wide strap for a shoulder strap if they want it.
And what kind of closure at the top do you have? Is there any closure, just open bag?
Just open top. Yeah, that was again for my consultant daughter.
Did you design this from the ground up, or was this a pattern or template you got?
So it was a pattern from Springfield Leather that I modified heavily.
Okay. Fantastic. Now, this, is not your first tote bag, of course. So what does this one sell for?
This is going to be, I've got a price of $350 on it.
Okay. So fantastic. So every tool that you use as a holster maker provided you everything you needed to make this, right? Or did you have to have a few more specialized tools on top of it?
This was actually the only tool that was the same was my knife. I had a rivet setter and a strap cutter and a knife. That's pretty much it, really. My sewing machine.
Right. Oh, you didn't hand sew that whole thing? What's the matter with you?
Buddy, I did my first holster by hand and my first belt by hand, and that convinced me I needed a machine right there.
Okay. And what kind of machine did you get?
I've got a Cowboy 4500 stitcher. It's basically for tack and saddle making and heavy duty work. It'll stitch up to 7/8 inch thick leather. So, you have your Western style gun, cowboy action gun rigs that are pretty thick, have a nice thick welt on them. It'll stitch right through that with no problem.
Now, see, that would be Ryan Neals of Neals Harness and Saddlery out of North Lima, Ohio. But when you got that, did you get that straight from Ryan, or did you go through a distributor?
I got this from actually from Bob Kovar up at Toledo Industrial Sewing.
Man, Bob has forgot more about stitchers than we're ever going to know.
He's a super guy. I mean, he is so smart. And I was up there for work. It was funny. And I was in this little bitty rental car. And I thought, Toledo Industrial Sewing, I'm going to go over there and see what they've got. So
how big can a sewing machine be? I mean, it's just a little sewing machine.
Right. So I bought it. I said, I'll take it. He said, I've got a used one here. Because I was going for a 3,500 size, the shorter arm. But he says, I just sold it. He says, literally, the guy just left with it. If you were 15 minutes sooner, you'd have passed him in the parking lot. He said, but I got a 4,500. It's the same machine, just a longer arm. I'm like, well, let's look at it. He showed it to me. He showed me how to use it. And I bought it. So I'll just take it with me. And then I'm looking at this beast of a machine. And I'm looking at this compact car that was my rental car. We had to take it apart. And the table and everything to get it to fit in this car, and it filled the car up. And I drove it home here to Kentucky. It was about a 4-hour drive, so I get here late in the evening. And my wife's like, well, let's go ahead and take the car back over to the rental place.
You're like, this ain't going to happen.
we got some work to do first.
Yeah, honey, come look in the car. See what followed me home. Come look in the car.
I think she was about to skin me over that thing. She says, I can't believe you spent that much money on that. You'll never make that back. I made the money back in 3 months on that stitcher by making holsters and belts.
Fantastic. Now, Bob Kovar is such a resource. I think when you were actually here for the boot camps that you came to, I had this Adler machine that was throwing fits. Yeah. And I called up Bob, and he said, oh, you got the wrong needle in it. And I said, okay, I'm doing 277, 207. And I don't want to know anything else. Just send me what I need. And he just threw it in the mail. We had it actually the next day. You know,
Bob's good people. Good people.
Sure. And Bob will let you stay dumb. You just say, I've got this. Here's where I am. Here's where I need to go. And he'll say, it's in the mail.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a good guy. I had an issue. I was stitching with it. And all of a sudden the end cap, where the shuttle and everything is, popped off and it all flew out the end of the machine.
Oh, lovely.
A few weeks ago. And I've got something halfway. I got a belt halfway stitched. I'm like, this is not good. So I called him up and he said, well, there's a little screw in there. He says, over time it'll vibrate loose. And he sent me pictures on Messenger and everything and how to fix it. And I was back up and running in 10 minutes. It was great.
And that's the deal is Bob understands production.
Right.
So although you're gone all week, yeah, and although you're gone all week, that means when you come in, you're taking a production mindset when you get to the house because you've got X amount of time to get product done. But so is this going to remain kind of a hobby, you think, when you retire? You said you wanted to get a little shop going. You're saying like a retail location where people can walk in, a public shop?
Yeah, so there's a couple little towns around here. The town I grew up in, Dry Ridge, Kentucky, and Williamstown, Kentucky, just south of me. And the Williamstown has become kind of a little artisan town. The town died. There was a big fire, burnt really half the town back when I was a teenager, and the whole town just kind of died after that. It's coming back as one of those artisan places, and there's a leather shop there already. The young fella, he makes a lot of handbags and a lot of tack and things like that. And we've become pretty good friends over the last few months. I went in to see his shop and check it out. And he wanted to carry some of my holsters, but that's another story. There were some legal issues that he couldn't overcome or didn't want to overcome or whatever. But we still collaborate. We if there's something we want to buy that you have to buy in bulk, we'll get together and we'll make an order together and stuff like that. So I think I would like to go into a shop someplace like that where you're only open maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
That'd be good
for a few hours to catch the crowd. That's the same town where the Ark encounter is located. So there's a lot of tourism coming through there on the weekends, especially. So I think it would do really well there.
I think it really would. So, yeah, I've been a big proponent of if you have a little shop, be open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah. And that way you catch after work, you catch people that also you have time to do things in the morning. If you try to, I've seen a lot of little shops have problems because people have left their employment through retirement or left, and they decide they're going to open up their shop in the hours they normally work, and they forget that their customer base is also at work.
Also at work. Correct. I mean, I see that in big cities when I travel. It's like, the big stores are only open, 9 to 5. Well, you can't go because you're working 9 to 5 or whatever, So
all their people that have the money to buy their product are at work. That's how they're making the money.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, it's going to be a hobby job, I guess you could say. I want it to basically pay for itself. I don't look to get rich doing this. I don't think any of us do because it's not going to happen. But to me, it's relaxing. Like I said earlier, I can come down here in the shop and I can doodle around. And I mean, there's sometimes I'll come down. I've got these little doodle pads
like that.
I'll just do a little carving on them and things like that. And thought, hey, I wonder how an oak leaf belt would look. So I did some oak leaves on a belt strip and just piddle. That's what us old guys do. We piddle a lot. So.
And what sales channels are you using now? It sounds like at the moment you're just going someplace and having some with you, or have you created a few sales channels to help you move your product?
Yeah, so I've got a Facebook page, Gunblinger Designs on Facebook. I've also got a website, gunblingerdesigns.com. And I get some sales through that. I don't push it actively because
what are you using for your website, for your web hosting?
It's GoDaddy.
GoDaddy, and was it one of their built up? I mean, are they handling everything?
Yeah, it's a template. You just put in your material into their template.
And how do you collect your money?
I don't do sales online. I say if anybody's interested in purchasing anything, everything is custom made. I don't really have a stock of anything except a few holsters. And I have pictures of things that I've made up there. And they can contact me and I'll make it custom for them.
And by doing that, is your client base still staying pretty local, or are you expanding out across the country or the world?
I have products of various items all across the country. I made a glasses case for a lady in California. I've made numerous holsters. I've got holsters in Virginia. I made a holster for a Grammy Award-winning artist. I'm not going to mention their name, but they contacted me through my website.
Through your website?
through my website and made them a holster. And
so people aren't afraid to send you an email or a messenger contact or something of that nature. So not everybody is demanding the click purchase. They're willing to go through the effort to get that custom design.
Correct. And it's amazing, a lot of word of mouth, because like this gentleman I'm talking about bought the holster and then told some friends of his, who in turn turned around and one bought a belt, another one bought a holster and a belt. So it builds off of that. And I'm as busy as I can possibly be. Back before in October, I had to cut off Christmas orders because I got so busy. And I'm just now catching up. I told people it's going to be March or April before I can get on to new projects. And I'm hitting that mark. I've got 3 or 4 more items to make that came in orders before Christmas time, and get those out. And I'm starting to take some custom orders again.
And are the tote bags moving the same way?
Tote bags are phenomenal. I can't believe. So I did a craft show, my first and only craft show last spring, last May. And I put a picture of the display, just had them hanging from my little canopy, put it on my Facebook page, and my Gunblinger Facebook page. And this lady from Mississippi saw it. I made it public. She saw it and contacted me. She says, I want that blue one with the brown pocket on it. So I sent it to her. She paid me. I sent it to her. And she called me and says, okay, I want 7 more of different colors. Just pick the colors.
Okay, wait, 7 more. So how did this happen? Not unusual if somebody contacts you and say, hey, give me one. But you had 7 more. What happened?
She loved it, and she says, I'm just going to do my Christmas shopping right now.
Okay, so they weren't all for her.
No, so she bought them for her friends and stuff, and some tweaks on the style a little bit, but basically a tote is a tote, and she loved it. Some had that were just open top, and some were magnetic closers. Some had a flap over top of them, things that she asked for. But yes, so this one person bought 8 tote bags from me.
So that was a Springfield leather tote bag pattern, and then you started modifying it as you went.
Right.
Okay. And we know that you make holsters. How you doing on belts, or what we call flat goods?
Belts were amazing. I started off, I made myself a belt. I'd made a belt when I was a kid. So I did leathercraft when I was a kid, like a 12 to 17-year-old kid, and kind of got away from it, put the stuff away when, I got into high school and started, there were girls in cars and all that stuff. And then
girls have been the ruin of many a good man.
Absolutely.
As young men have been the ruin of.
So true.
Having daughters, a son and a daughter.
Yeah, I've got 2 boys and a girl, so yes, I know very well. But anyway, I had made a belt, just single ply out of a belt blank from Tandy, and I did one that had buck stitch and stuff. It's the simple basic stuff that you do when you first do your first project. I made myself a wallet back then. All this stuff is long gone, but I made myself a belt when I started back into all this, and I didn't know how wide I should make it or anything like that. So I made a 1 3/4 inch belt and basket weave stamped the whole thing. Boy, that was a learning experience. It was beautiful. I mean, it turned out really, really good, but it's 1 3/4 inches wide. Wouldn't fit most belt loops. So I actually just last week, I took the hardware off of it and trashed it because I couldn't wear it with most of my pants. So it's gone. But that was my first belt. And then I got an idea. It's like, the thin blue line, police support, stuff like that. So I made a thin blue line belt and gave it to a friend of mine just as a gift, who was a police officer. It went nuts. George, I sold 70 of those belts.
You sold 70 of them?
70 of them. They were 8-ounce, 2-ply, 8-ounce leather. 8 ounces front, 8 ounce back. And they were
so these are
black.
true gun belts. These are 16-ounce gun belts, just like what we build. But you took and hand-painted the line on all of those?
Hand-painted the blue line down the middle of every one of them. And I thought, man, I am onto something here.
You should have hand-stitched every one of them, too.
Oh, my God. No, I did not hand-stitch. There's no way. The cowboy got a workout there on those. but I sold the daylights out of them. I thought, man, I'm onto something. So I made a whole bunch of them, and I must have sold one to everybody who wanted one because I haven't sold one since.
You're going to have to take and basically start like a campaign on that. So, starting that off on your website, and maybe like an interesting, believe it or not, little way to do your video on it. You can go on Amazon to a company called Neewer. I think it's Neewer, I think, and I could be reversed. It could be Neweer. So they have some trolley systems. Okay, so literally you can put your phone on it, and it's made to hold a camera. Okay, and you very slowly roll this across your bench. So so let's look at this here. We've got a close-up shot of this belt. So we see the stitching, we see the blue line, we see all that, right? And we're slowly traveling down it from the, I would say, from the billet end. So you catch the English point, you see the 5 holes, and you roll down, and you see the buckle. But the whole time playing like some of the music background you're seeing in some of the military movies or something of that nature.
Yeah.
You have to get some free stuff, licensable, music.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you do that, and then I would just do some flash images, screen caps from different police actions or things of that nature where they put themselves between a dangerous situation in the public or whatever. And you might find a simple little video like that on your Facebook may just kick those sales right off again.
Yeah, it may. But I've got a handful of those belts left.
You do? You want to grab one? Let us see it.
Yeah, hang on 1 second. All right, so here's one of the blue line belts.
Nice.
And this is a 32, so this is for somebody who would actually be a police officer, not overweight like me. And you can see it's pretty beefy. It's
that thing's got some meat to it.
It's got some meat to it. I mean, it'll stand up.
So it's a gun belt just like we built it. And what are you doing? So the blue line, I assume, is just on the outside. So how are you keeping that line straight? I assume you're swivel knifing that?
So no, what I do is I use my my stitch groover, and I set it, and go down each side.
Pull it right down.
Yep, and then go over it with paintbrush and hand. I've upped my game a little bit. I have an airbrush now, so now I would tape it off and spray it, make life easier.
But dye, or are you using paint?
Using Angelus acrylic paint.
Okay.
I'll dilute it down. I'll make a very dilute mix, I guess you would call it, and get it in there so it would suck into the leather really good, and then gradually increase the amount of paint, decrease the amount of water until I get a nice even coat over it, and then I'll dip it in Resolene and seal it in there really good.
So it's absolutely a design pretty easily achieved that, holster makers all over, if they're making gun belts, there's something that might kick off their gun belt sales in their area.
Yeah, for sure. And I do one now as well. I don't have one with me. I've sold the last one, but I did one for a combat veteran friend of mine. He wanted the holster and belt combo with the thin green line for the military. And I did a couple for firefighters, and I put a red line on it. So
have you played with different color threads as well to accent?
I have. I did one that had blue thread with the thin blue line. It looked very cool. And I sold it pretty quickly, but I haven't had anybody else ask for it. I mentioned it when people ask about it, but like I said, I've got these hanging around. I think everybody that wanted one got one, and they're not going to wear out. I mean, these are lifetime belts. So unless they gain or lose a whole lot of weight, they're not going to need another belt the rest of their life.
I got a cool trick for you. All right, so check this out, Rob.
I can't see it.
Let me get where you can see it. See that?
I see it. Yep.
That is a 4-inch elbow. PVC elbow.
Okay.
So this here, we saw this done with the P-trap, 2-inch P-trap, and we altered it a little bit. But this is how we dye belt strips now.
That is very ingenious.
And Garrett said, I think it holds a quart of dye.
Yeah.
And you just start pulling belts through. Now here you see what we have to happen here. You said we're going to cut the wood off so it's easier to pour back in the bottle.
Right.
But fantastic way. C-clamp it down to your table.
I like that.
So fantastic. So that we actually picked up. Somebody used a plumbing fitting, I think a P trap or an S trap or something of that nature. And I saw it. I told Garrett, "This is amazing. I wish I could remember. I'm going to try to find that post to sincerely thank that poster because it just makes life easier." And as you've seen, we traditionally use kitty litter boxes, and we pull them out through, and your arms are way up here. That's a dream come true.
That's a great idea. I'm gonna copy that now because doing belt strips is messy a lot of times.
Right. Well, how fantastic is that? I mean, it's the point where I remember Billy out in Virginia. He bought himself a 40-gallon aquarium, and it sits on a table, and all of his dye stuff goes in it. So he does his dyeing. It's in a container inside the aquarium. so because he had white carpet on his floor.
Oh, there's no way I would do. No way.
In a rental.
No way. I would not even attempt it.
So Billy Melton knows no fear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know fear.
So let's talk about some resources that you use starting out, be it YouTube, Facebook, website, some places you're finding. And I know the big 800-pound gorilla is holsters for handguns. Probably the best online guild that you can have.
Hands down.
And some of the people there that have been super helpful to you would be.
Oh my gosh! Well, you for one. JR is phenomenal. That man's forgotten more about holsters than I will ever know.
We call him the beard of knowledge.
Yeah, and it's true. He has so much information that it's like going to the archives of Congress on holsters. This man knows so much. The other day, I put a post up. I was asking about a revolver holster for a certain type of revolver, and the guru came down from the mountain and called me. I was astounded. But Eric Larson, I talked to him for a good 45 minutes on designing this holster and things to do and whatnot.
Getting 45 minutes uninterrupted for Eric Larson's time is pretty stinking cool.
And I was amazed the entire time. I told him, I can't believe you're taking the time to talk to me. I said, you're Eric Larson. He, how he is. I mean, he's just down there. He laughed. He says, "Oh, I just try to help out people, super nice guy." Andrew Callis, looking at his work and seeing the things that he does. That you talk about an innovator. I know you did your first podcast with him, but innovation and concept design. This guy's got it going on. I look at his stuff and I'm amazed. It's like, man, someday I'm going to get to that point. Gosh, who else? Denny Lowe. I mean, Denny is a saddle maker there at Springfield Leather, but the man knows leather. Amazing tooling artist, and always willing to help. You can call out there if he's got the time out of his schedule there at Springfield, because he's always teaching classes. He'll get on the phone and talk to you.
Absolutely.
And help you out. Gosh, who are some of the others? Jimmy Beer, that was in the holster class with me. He and I have talked several times on things.
And Jimmy has got a sense of design about him.
That man, he's an artist. He's a true artist.
That's what he told me when he said, "I want to come to class." He says, "Dude," he says, "I'm just beginning leatherwork." He said, "I'm an artist. I don't know where I want to express my art. Do I want to express my art in holsters? Do I want to do it in belts? Do I want to do it in carving?" And I think he's still kind of feeling his way for what's going to be his designs.
Yeah.
But boy, it's a joy to get to see him.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy. Gosh, here's some other. And Matt Putty. Matt was in the class with us. Made
we were supposed to be doing this video this morning with Matt, and he called me up and he goes, "That storm that you guys had?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "It found us." He said, "We have trees down, power out, roofs are gone up in central New Jersey."
Yeah, we had that yesterday. It was here. There's trees down all over the place. But Matt's a woodworker, and wood and leather just transfer back and forth so easily.
And he makes amazing tools.
He does. Oh my gosh, his woodwork, his tool holders are amazing.
I'll give you a secret heads up. You want to know the newest, coolest thing? It's not out yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So you saw his octagon valet trays.
Yeah. Got one.
And actually, we have the molds for them now from him. Oh. He makes them. We're selling his molds. I think they're like $55. I got one left.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're making a valet tray that is the state of Texas.
Oh, that is cool.
So instead of doing that traditional boring kind of shape, we're going to do that. Oh yeah, Garrett actually said there. He said, "Hey, you know that tool that that guy in Jersey made?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Pretty good tool." And to get Garrett to say that.
This is the cat's meow for doing your slots on holsters, for slicking them out. And this is Matt. It's a deer antler and a piece of walnut. It's a beautiful piece of work. I mean, it's simple, but man, it's perfect for doing those slots. I mean, it gets right in there, and you can slick those right up and make it look good.
That's pretty stinking cool, isn't it?
It is very cool.
And so, I try to get him to make more, but he has a dearth of deer antler up there. So if you got some, send him some.
I shipped off a bunch of deer antlers to a friend of mine last year. I had a whole stack of them to make knife handles with. So I'm down out of them too. But yeah, and I think those are the guys that come to mind right off the bat. That are big helper. And everybody on there's a help. I mean, it's funny when you make a post on holsters for handguns that you're asking for help or asking for input. The information you get back. And they're not jerks. They're true holster builders. That's what they do, and they help you up your game.
Absolutely.
And I've gone from this little floppy thing to this and my own design.
I'd love to see you redesign that early holster with the carving. Using your current construction techniques?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I plan on it as soon as I can catch up with things that people have ordered from me. Because I've got a box full of holsters over here that I made. I had a big order come in and then cancel after I made them. So I've got a dozen holsters sitting over here that I'm selling onesie twosie. I mean, I'll get my money. The guy said, "I'm sorry to cancel it." He said, "I just can't sell them." He said, "But I'll pay you for them." I said, "No, I'm not going to make you do that. I'll sell them." Because I'd given him a break because he was ordering a dozen. I'm going to sell them at regular price, and I'll come out ahead anyway. So it's not a big deal. But yeah, I want to do some carving on one and fancy it up. I want to do I started. This was an early, Western rig I started on, and I got busy and never got to make the belt for it. So I'm hoping to one day make the belt for this.
Pretty sweet.
And, so I like the cowboy guns. I've got a couple of Vaqueros and things like that. I just like firearms, the history of firearms and holsters and all that stuff that goes with it. And it's just fun to build and to throw a little fancy carving in it or something like that, some hardware. Just ups the game a little bit.
Absolutely. And so the other thing I think we want to cover on this, so you can absolutely get your Zen on, and help yourself, physically and mentally, doing holster work even when you have a job. But you can grow this business to whatever point you want to go to.
Absolutely.
And I remember when we were starting out, we didn't look at dollar value of anything. At the point when we started selling holsters to the public, everything was based on how many holsters does it take to pay for it. So rent was 8 holsters.
Yeah.
If we sold 8 a month, we paid the rent.
Yeah.
So everything we did was, what percentage of a holster is this? And so that's worked well. But I like the fact that you've proven that you can get sales off the internet, off a website, without having an e-commerce base.
Right.
Have you approached?
And you gotta work it.
Huh?
You have to work it a little bit, I think, more than having an e-commerce type site, but it does work for me, and not have, because I can't be super busy doing leather work right now. I just can't, because I'm not going to make my customer base mad. And I tell them up front, hey, I'm 5 weeks out, I'm 6 weeks out. on orders because I don't want them to think they're going to call me today, get it tomorrow. I'm not Amazon.
Yep. So we talked about holster makers, holster makers boot camps. Hadn't brought that one up yet. That's their Facebook page. Mm-hmm. Okay, holsters for handguns. USA holsters or USA holster makers, another Facebook group. But there's another one that a lot of people forget that I think a lot of people start in is leatherwork patterns.
Yes. Yeah. Leatherwork patterns. I mean, and it's not just for holsters. It's a lot of things that you can get patterns. Whether they got a file section,
a huge file section,
huge. I mean, you want to make a leather left-handed chromium plated corkscrew. They probably have a pattern for it. And
it's free.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of this. I've not seen any other craft or occupation or whatever you want to call it where people help each other out as much as they do in leathercraft.
Yep.
I'm a nurse by training. I've been a nurse since 1984, and nurses they always say eat their young. They just destroy each other, tear each other down. And I've seen other occupations they do the same. But leather workers, man, they will help you out if there's any way possible. Like I said, somebody like Eric Larson calls me on the phone to help me out. That you don't see that. That's akin to the Pope calling you up to personally pray for you.
And I see Eric. We don't want to forget that's HBE Leather or Leatherworks, right, and we'll put a link to his website as well in the description. We'll make sure we get your website and your Insta, all your various contact information.
Right.
They'll be here as well. So that's what we're doing on the web. And you're staying 6 or 8 weeks behind, you said?
About 6 to 8 weeks out, typically. Christmas time, like I said, I got months out. I'm just still catching up from some of that.
And if you don't mind, you're part-time. You're hugely part-time, like Saturday and part of Sunday.
Right.
And what do you think you grossed last year?
Oh, gosh.
Just a guess.
Maybe 10.
So 1 day a week says probably, and then, weeks you don't work, so probably 45 days out of the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to get your Zen on and make an extra 10 grand?
Yeah.
Leatherwork's not a bad gig, brother.
It's not a bad gig at all. I mean, it's because it's like I said before, it's a medium of art and utility. You can have a basic holster, plain black, everyday run-of-the-mill holster, or you can, jazz it up a little bit with a little bit of stamping, or you can do a full carve. You can add, exotics. This is Cayman belly. You can take it to wherever you want. It's an art, but it's a utilitarian item. It's a tool. And there's not a whole lot of things that are like that. Woodworking, I mentioned before, woodworking, leatherworking go together. It's just one of those things that it makes me happy to do it. It makes me happy when I make something for someone and I see that they're happy with it. I'm not out to make $1 million. Like I said, it's not about making money.
It's good for your soul, man.
It is. It makes you feel good.
Yep. And that's really what a lot of this is about. Okay. So, but now we come to the part of the podcast where I'm going to see where we've been able to help you and where do we need to go to be a better help to you. So you said you had found our YouTube, which is, that's where this is going.
Right. Get a little dry here.
I'm going to get my Spot OT. Look at this here. Ready?
Look at that.
Is that fancy?
He's a fancy feller.
That makes me want to stick my little pinky out.
I stumbled on your YouTube channel and thought, man, this guy knows his stuff. And I watched several videos and, found out you were in Springfield, Missouri. And as I said earlier, I found myself in Springfield, Missouri for work. And just gave you a call, and you came and picked me up, took me to lunch. And we went over to your shop and looked at things, and I was quite impressed how you're like me, man. You're just a regular dude that probably started this out as a hobby, years ago and built it up into a good business, and you're helping others come along that way. What have you done to help me? You told me the differences, showed me the differences in leather, the import versus the Herman Oak style leathers, dyeing techniques. When I was there that first time, and I watched Garrett just dunk a holster into the dye and then turn around and dunk one into the acrylic sealer. I was like, I didn't know you could do that. I was sitting here with a dauber, swirling it on and trying to get the color even and everything else. And that upped my game. That little technique right there made life so much easier. Instead of having a little floppy holster, you get a nice holster with some nice body, nice retention to it. It's going to stay that way because that sealant just penetrates into that leather so well. Having your pre-cut, your clicked out pieces of leather helped me immensely. As I said,
the click and ship.
Yeah, the day or day and a half max to work on things, and I don't have time to sit around and cut stuff out. So, I have your click and ship thing. Here's one right here I got on my bench to work on. That makes my life so much easier. Instead of taking 10 minutes to cut out a piece of leather into the shape of a holster and then do the edging and all those, you do all that for me. And it saves me time. I can make 5 holsters or 6 holsters in the amount of time I used to make one.
Now, something I want you to reminding you to on the click and ships, because you have the patterns, you still have to have the pattern. Okay.
Right. So,
if you'll sit down with your pencil and where that throat reinforcement is, and go ahead and kind of re-sketch that 2 or 3 times and come up with something that's uniquely used. So say you decide you want to go down to that full coverage, right? And if you draw that up, and then we'll digitally master it, send it back to you, you do a comparison, make sure you love it, right? At that point, I'm going to spend some of your money. I'm going to go to Texas Custom Dyes, and I'm going to buy that reinforcement panel with your money from them.
Right.
And so suddenly, miraculously, every time you order a click and ship, it comes with your reinforcement panel.
And then it's a total custom piece.
Right. And then at such time as you say, hey, I got a clicker. It was a great deal at an auction. And when you have that, you say, George, send me back my die. and now it comes to you because it's yours. So we can still help you maintain that custom Gunblinger Designs holster. You know what I mean? Even though we're clicking them for you.
Absolutely. And the thing is, what you have done with this is you have taken the basic same design. As you can see, these are 2 different sizes, but the design is the same. The stitch lines are different, and I cut the bottom off.
Right.
For different firearms. So this is for an M&P Shield. This is for a full-size M&P.
Absolutely.
And I've got here for Glocks and whatever else you can think of. I've got, because I bought your holster, your pattern pack.
Right.
I can buy your click and ships and I can cut them to whatever firearm the customer needs. That innovation alone, George, saves so much time, effort, and money for me because I don't have to think about it. I can take it, lay that paper down, that pattern, and cut it to length, and I'm good to go.
You can concentrate on what it is that makes you a craftsman and an artist. You can concentrate on those things.
Right.
And just let the gross thing come out. And you were saying on belts, oh, yeah, I guess I sent you an oil tan double layer.
I've sold a ton of them. I've sold what I think you've sent me 10 of them. I've sold them all.
Oh, okay. I don't keep track of what we're...
Yeah, I mean, I don't do a whole lot of belts. They come in spurts, as you know. You'll sell 10 and you won't sell another one for 3 or 4 months. It's just weird that way, but they're beautiful. I mean, it's an oil tan. I don't even know if I have a piece of one. I don't even see a piece of one laying here.
I think go to the website and see them.
Yeah, I think at the website and see it. But that's a time saver because you do the work. You glue the oil tan to the veg tan liner. You punch the end out for the buckle, and all you have to do is cut it to length, stitch it, poke your holes, and out the door.
Yeah. And hopefully that, like I said, that everything you're seeing on there, unlike some of the companies out there, Springfield Leather does not have a lot of time to do finished goods. They are a supply house. So the problem you end up with, sometimes they're designing a product to be sold as that part they're selling it as.
Right.
And they've never actually built and marketed the end product to people.
Correct.
And everything that we're selling is what we make. Everything we sell to holster makers and leather workers is stuff that we make for ourselves to sell.
Right.
So we've been through that painful process of that didn't work out, George.
Yeah.
So we've been through that.
You learn. So I just saw a quote today, and I can't remember how it went, but it was like, it's good to learn from your mistakes, but it's better to learn from the mistakes of others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, and we went through this too, social media is a pain in a lot of people's butts.
Oh,
but I'm going to tell you what, so many people that I've met over the last 5-6 years that have came to the shop or they came to a boot camp or something of that nature, we met through social media. I learned what they were doing through social media. I don't think that a lot of us would be here where we are today in leatherworking without the internets.
Correct.
So,
and I've met a lot of people. I mean, the internet can be a dangerous place. There's no doubt about it. But when you align yourself, just like face-to-face relationships, you align yourself with good people, and the good relationships develop. And that's what I've found with the leatherworking pages for the most part, is everybody's out there to help each other out. EDC Leather, your company, has helped me out immensely, and I've grown as a crafter, as a builder, from all that help. Meeting you, meeting Garrett. Garrett, man, what a holster builder that guy is.
He's a beast.
He is a beast. There's no doubt about it. And he helped me out on, I can't remember what I called him for the other day. I called him for something, and he helped me out. Oh, it was that dye. I had this freaky dye effect happened. And we all determined it was humidity that caused it to get blotchy looking.
We've had that happen. Absolutely.
And as Garrett said, it's I'm not going to say the word, but the blank brown dye,
It hates us. I cannot tell you, and I will not tell you, how many of our black items started out life as brown.
Oh yeah. Yep. And I had one the other day. It was blotchy. I didn't like it. It turned black.
So remember, gang, when you do brown, if it doesn't work right, it's a fantastic black leather product.
Absolutely.
So keep your eyes open here. Within the next 30 days, I'm going to be sending you a prototype of the new wallet jigs.
Oh, nice.
And I think I show that to you before?
You were talking about it, but I didn't see them.
It's gonna be stinking cool, and so we're gonna up your wallet game, and that's another thing that Thin Blue Line might work on.
Oh, absolutely. So I tried to do this. So I had a box of holsters up until about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I posted on my Facebook page, and I think I don't know if you commented on it or not, but all my mistakes that I had made since I've dedicated to building holsters.
Your box of shame.
The box of shame. And I threw them all away, but I did take a photo of them before. And I tried to do one with a blue line on it where I was using my airbrush. It was a spectacular failure because my airbrush sputtered and it gave me a splattered line on it. And
that could have been the newest thing right there.
And that was ugly. I threw it away. It may have been a style that I just blew away, but no, it was ugly, and I threw it in the garbage. But I had all those, and there's one where I was making an early holster, one of those early Adams Leatherwork design holsters, and I was cutting out the piece of it, and my knife slipped and cut right through the center of the holster. So that was another one of the holster box of shame contributions. But yeah, keep your old work when you're doing stuff. I wish I had kept some of my old work so you can compare it over time.
Absolutely.
It doesn't take a long time, but you constantly improve. but it doesn't take a long time where you go from, man, that was really cool, to where I'm at now. And I look at my first holster, man, that's really crappy. I can't believe I even made that. But that's how you learn, and it progresses through that. And you get to the point, like we said, these are my own design holsters here, that you get to that point, you can design your own, you learn how to do it. Take a class, the Holster Maker Boot Camp class. I can't recommend that enough.
I think Rob and JR down just south of Columbus, Ohio, in April are going to have a Pancake 101. Probably, guys, gals, if you're out east or close to that, and Rob's going to cook for them. So, it's your foundation. It's you can't build a house without a solid foundation. Otherwise it all comes toppling down. You can do the same thing again and again, but when you have a problem, you don't have that foundation to fall back on. And Rob and Parker in April are going to have that one on Holster Makers Boot Camps or on Holsters for Handguns. You can find a pin post to get a hold of them. I can't recommend it enough, kind of because I came up with it. It's my little anyway.
Yeah.
And then
that's Rob Comfort, not Rob Scroggins.
Rob Comfort, right? Yep. Then in June, the O'Connor 55, Jack O'Connor rifle scabbard we're doing here with Lowell Harvey. Okay. And then in October, we'll be doing the Taco 200, which is the class that follows the 101.
Yep. I plan on being in that one.
You're going to be at that one there. We'll see you then.
That's the next step. And, I want to keep going. I want to build this up. One day, I want to be like George.
God help you. You'll be old and you have to pee too much. You know that?
Right.
So, all right. So, real quick, Rob, what's your website?
Gunblingerdesigns.com. And then my Facebook page is Gunblinger Designs. And I'm also on Instagram as Gunblinger Designs.
Okay. And we'll get all that down in the show notes as well. But, brother, I thank you for visiting with us this morning. It's a new format. Yes, I hope we gave some things that'll help people. The big thing that I got out of this was, instead of trying to use a swivel knife to make a line for that, use the stitch groover. Gives a nice stitch groover. Fantastic. I'm going to try that.
Yep. You can, you set your width and it's going to be the same every time.
All righty. Fantastic, brother. Good to see you. Be safe. Keep out of the wind.
Yes, sir. Take care.
We are out.